President Buhari assents to 16 constitutional alteration bills, gives premium to financial independence to state assemblies and judiciary. Eligible voters to exercise their franchise in governorship in Houses of Assembly elections this Saturday.
Distributed accordingly.
Plus, businesses picking up as cash crunch seems to be easing.
Government said that we should use this old money. So now we are getting small.
Good evening and welcome to the Network News on NTA. I'm Elizabeth Omori. Adiola Komiakere joins us from Lagos. And don't forget to follow this newscast live on our website, nta.ng/live, NTA News Now on Twitter, as well as other social media platforms displayed on the screen. President Muhammad Buhari signs 16 constitution alteration bills and 3 others into law. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, Senator Babajide Omoworare, notes that the constitution amendment bills include the one on financial independence of state houses of assembly and state judiciary. Other bills assented to by the President are those on the removal of the railway, prison and electricity from the exclusive legislative list to the concurrent list. Mr. President also assented to the bill that mandates the President and governors to submit names of persons nominated as ministers or commissioners for confirmation to the Senate and state assemblies within 60 days of taking oath of office. And to speak more on the bills assented to by Mr. President, I have with me in the studio a constitutional lawyer, Kayode Ajilo. Mr. Kayode, thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Oh, thank you, it's my pleasure.
All right, what is the intendment of granting financial autonomy to state houses of assembly and state judiciary?
Well, we all know the agitation, we all know the expectation of the people, particularly when it comes to autonomy for the states assembly and the judiciary. It is part of what is expected, particularly to have a smooth administration of the country, particularly in a way that these two bodies needs to be given their independence, so that at the end of the day we can say, oh, we have a democracy working in Nigeria. And I think we need to commend not only the president, the legislature and the people, all those that come together to ensure that there must be this autonomy. And when we are talking of restructuring, this is the beginning. This is more like a devolution of power, because by the time you see what those lofty alteration that we have, as of today, the states has their own, the judiciary has their own, the legislature has their own, and part of the alteration even talked about the food and all those things to the people. So it's like a win-win for all Nigerians, and I think we need to commend all those that make this possible.
Okay. All right. The assent has removed electricity and railway actually from the exclusive list to the concurrent list. What does this intend to achieve?
We're saying this thing. That's what we talk about, devolution of power. If you remember, there has been a lot of agitation where the states has been saying that what the federal government, that is the federal level, seem to be much. So by the time you have the states, the issue of the power, that generating power, the railway and the prison, to have been given to concurrent lists, and you know what concurrent list means, that the states will have their bite and they can even control some things. So I think we need to commend this, and I believe the states, people in the state, particularly the agitation, must be singing and must give kudos to the president and those that make this possible. I think it's a win-win for the people.
It's a win-win.
It's win-win for devolution of power in Nigeria.
Okay. Now, talking about governance, nomination of ministers and commissioners within 60 days of assumption of office. Well, it's quite interesting. But what does this portend for governance?
Well, it portends a lot. If you remember, some years back, there are these issues where we have, after inauguration of the president and the state governors, sometimes it took them so much time that it seemed that the workings of government seem to be in standstill. But with this, there is a legislation, it's now in prescribed form, that once you are inaugurated, within 60 days, we must know who is our minister, we must know who are the official of government, and we must know that from that day, the government has started working. And I think we should know what this one means. 60 days is not that something that anybody can forgo. And for now, we know that in the next 60 days, at least in the next 60 days, we know those who are running the country. And I think these are the things that ensure smooth running of the country. And this one will bring the dividend of the democracy that the people always ask for.
All right. This is indeed a step in the right direction. All right, Mr. Kade Ajula, I want to thank you so much for your time on the news.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your thoughts.
Thank you. I'm so grateful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, talking elections, ahead of the governorship and state houses of assembly elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has distributed materials across the country. Francis Form has details.
From Lokoja, Francis Udejo reports that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Kogi State has confirmed the delivery of sensitive materials to the 21 local government areas in Kogi State ahead of the Saturday State Assembly election in the state.
Now that this election was shifted from the 11th to the 18th, we are able to complete and conclude our negotiation with the transporters, and we've only got very little materials to distribute today so that people can go in good time to be able to buy these things and then get to their destinations and be ready to start early morning on Saturday.
And Ifoma Ndu Okoli reports that the representatives of political parties were on ground to monitor the distribution of both sensitive and non-sensitive election materials by the Independent National Electoral Commission to the 17 local government areas of Abia State.
The logistic challenges that we have that fortnight ago is not going to experience itself. We are seeking for adequate collaboration with the NATO and NURTW.
From Gombe, Abbas Maikano reports that all is set for Saturday's governorship and state assembly election in the state, with the distribution of sensitive and non-sensitive materials to local government areas of the state.
Well, the preparations so far, there's no much problem. We are on top of all the situations, in fact. So as you can see, even before we came here, we had meeting with all the gubernatorial aspirants, with their chairman, to talk to them about the security situation and then how to make the state and the election successful.
Things have been going very well with INEC. They have invited all the political parties here, and all the materials have been distributed accordingly.
From Abakaliki, the Ebonyi State capital, Chinaza John reports that the Independent National Electoral Commission says it has taken steps to correct the lapses experienced in the presidential and National Assembly elections in the state. The resident electoral commissioner, Mrs. Pauline Onyeka, stated this while monitoring the distribution of sensitive materials to the 13 local government areas of the state.
I am giving you every assurance that what happened that time happened as a result of where some areas where they reported that the right centers are vulnerable. So that made them to take off from the local government area. But this time around, we have taken care of everything.
So far, so good. I wish that what has transpired here this morning is what is going to transpire across all the polling units in Ebonyi State.
And from Enugu, Comfort Anyim reports that the Independent National Electoral Commission has also delivered sensitive and non-sensitive materials in the 17 local government areas of the state in the presence of party agents.
We are loading all the sensitive material to go to all the 17 local governments in Enugu State. You see where we bring it and the sound and sale. So you check the serial number, everything is in type. So when you go to local government, you check whether what you have here is what you have in the local government. That's why I say nothing to hide out.
Meanwhile, the and to conduct supplementary elections arising from the presidential and National Assembly elections together with the governorship and state assembly elections that will take place on Saturday 18th of March 2023 as reported in subsections of the media. For clarity, the supplementary elections will take place on a date to be announced by the Commission immediately after the governorship and state assembly elections. In a statement, INEC notes that the two National Assembly elections for Enugu East Senatorial District and Esa Central, Esa West Igwebe Federal Constituency of Benin of Edo State will hold along with the governorship and state assembly elections this Saturday. The public is advised to disregard any report alluding to the conduct of supplementary elections. And security agencies across the country have intensified efforts in ensuring peaceful elections tomorrow. Deborah Balagbobo tells us more.
The Abia State Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the elections in the Southeast Zone, John Amadi, has warned hoodlums to stay away from the polling unit during the gubernatorial and State House of Assembly elections in the zone or face the consequences. In Kano, joint security operatives have staged a show of force exercise in demonstration of readiness for the Saturday election.
Kano is a strategic state in the federation, so quite a number of considerations were given in terms of reinforcing the deployment of our police personnel and the equipment.
Fatima Aliu reports that AIG on Zone 7, Aishatu Abubakar, has emplaced effective security architecture and deployment of personnel that will guarantee the conduct of governorship and House of Assembly elections in a safe, free, fair and transparent manner.
Every police officers and other security agencies are expected to be neutral, apolitical, while providing requisite security and protection for INEC, their operational and electoral equipment, other critical players in the elections, as well as the entire good people of Niger State, especially the most vulnerable. We will not hesitate to explore all means within our respective statutory mandates to ensure the sanctity of the electoral process.
And coming from Ibadan, food vendors and other traders have been stopped from operating around polling units as part of proactive measures for the smooth conduct of the Saturday elections.
Also included in the new schedule is the involvement of cyber forensic experts to handle cyber-related offenses, especially circulation of fake and unverified news.
In Abuja, Deborah Balagbobo, NTA.
Still on peaceful elections, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, urges political leaders across the country, especially in Lagos State, to desist from actions that could promote election violence. And Atiku specifically frowns at ethnic slurs aimed at intimidating voters in the state, while referring to a viral video issuing threats against other ethnic groups. The PDP presidential candidate calls on security agencies to ensure that politicians and their proteges submit to the rules of democracy across the country for peace and unity to reign. And President Muhammadu Buhari is in Daura, Katsina ahead of the rescheduled governorship and state assembly elections on Saturday. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that on arrival at the Umaru Musa Yar'Adua International Airport, the president was received by a high-powered Katsina state government delegation led by Governor Aminu Bello Masari. Also at the airport to receive him were senior federal government officials, including the Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, Ambassador Hamid Rufai Abubakar. Before leaving the airport, President Buhari inspected a ceremonial guard of honor mounted by a detachment of the Nigerian Armed Forces. The president then proceeded to Daura, his ancestral home, where he is expected to exercise his civic responsibility by voting candidates of his choice during Saturday's governorship and state assembly elections. You're watching the network news on NTA. Time to take a break. The news continues shortly. Thanks for staying with us. The federal government has directed total closure of all land borders from 12 a.m. on Saturday, 18th of March 2023 to 12 a.m. of Sunday, 19th of March 2023. A statement signed by the Controller General of Immigration, Issa Jerry Idris, accordingly directs all command controllers, especially those in border states, to ensure strict enforcement of the directive. Still on our election reports, the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room has reconvened its election situation room for the governorship and state house of assembly elections scheduled to hold on Saturday, 18th of March 2023. Timothy Yusuf reports.
For this second leg of the 2023 general election, the Situation Room will deploy 2,340 election observers, with at least 3 election observers per local government area in every state of the Federation, excluding the Federal Capital Territory. On the election day, the Election Situation Room will be the main hub for receiving data and reports from the field, which will be analyzed and disseminated through press statements and reports.
The Situation Room observation and analysis of the conduct of the governorship and state houses of assembly election will be guided by the credibility threshold for the 2023 general election.
Situation Room expects that INEC has taken lessons from the challenges experienced during the presidential and national assembly elections of 25th February 2023, and that the Commission has made adequate arrangements to forestall the recurrence of the gaps observed during the elections. Yaga Africa at its database center in Abuja convened similar pre-election briefing on the March 18 governorship and state houses for assembly elections.
Yaga Africa calls on the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security Access to ensure that security personnel deployed complies with the Code of Conduct on Election Security.
Yaga Africa enjoined INEC to ensure full supervision of the process and commended the Commission for sanctioning some resident electoral commissioners from participating in the coming polls. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
And the founder of the Albino Foundation is urging persons with disabilities to defy all odds and come out en masse to elect credible persons in the governorship and state houses of assembly elections. This was at the pre-election briefing, where he called on authorities to ensure necessary steps are taken for hitch-free elections. Joseph Otsen reports.
INEC voter register for the 2023 general elections has 85,363 registered persons with disabilities. With the number, many feel this category of persons can make significant impact in the March 18 elections.
We are using this opportunity to call on persons with disability community to come out and participate in the electoral process. You shouldn't sit at home. The provisions are still active. I believe that INEC will do the needful.
Persons with disabilities want authorities to improve on priority voting, access to polling units, provision of assistive devices, and security to aid them cast their ballots.
You know, the perception was, is there going to be war? Are people going to accept the results and all that? Seeing how it happened, the security agencies, and from the recommendation we just made from the press statement, we're looking at massive turnout so that people's votes can decide.
INEC says it has already made provisions for assistive devices for persons with disabilities to aid their participation. In Abuja, Joseph Otsen, NTA News.
Inadequate measures have been put in place to ensure early commencement of the governorship and state houses of assembly elections in Yobe State by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Talatu Lamon, who visited INEC office in Damaturu local government area to ascertain the level of preparedness for the conduct of the elections, also reports that there is an increase in circulation of the Naira notes.
As of now, most of the challenges encountered during the presidential and national assembly elections, which include uploading of results, network failure, Late arrival of ad hoc staff and materials have been addressed by INEC. In the same vein, about 50% of allowances for both ad hoc and security personnel, which covers their transportation to polling units, have also been paid in cash by the Commission, with a view to make the exercise free, fair and credible. INEC electoral officer in Damaturu, the Yobe State capital, says both sensitive and non-sensitive materials have been distributed to 11 registration areas and 221 polling units in the area.
But a lot had been done by the Commission. We were given a lot booster for efficiency in the network in areas where we lack that network. And we also retrain our personnel RATEX on the issue of handling that beavers.
Similarly, it was a sigh of relief for the people on the improvement of cash in circulation, as despite queues seen at some banks, the issue of long hours spent in and outside banking hall is gradually reducing.
We hope for better government. We hope for a good governor. Let's have someone who we can put our trust on. And we pray for peaceful election.
With security beefed up to ensure peaceful election, people were sighted trooping in and out of the state as they hope to exercise their civic duty in their polling units across the state and country. In Damaturu, Talatu Lamon, NTA News.
Away from electoral matters, it's been weeks of a biting cash crunch across the country, and 1 week since the old 500 and 1,000 naira notes regained validity. Bosede Ibu, who has been following this development in this report, takes a look at the availability of cash in the nation's capital and the POS business.
Banks' automated teller machines have continued to dispense the old notes to the public, while the old notes are being accepted and in some instances rejected in transactions. Let's find out if the point of sale agents have cash and what are the charges and how they go about their business.
When the government said that she use this old money, so now we are getting small.
Bose Awoyemi, a POS operator, tells her own side of the story since the cash crunch ordeal to the recent validity of the old Naira notes.
Sometimes I bought cash, so if I want to give out the cash, I'll say like 1,000, I'll collect 200. So the business still remains the same.
They give 10,000 naira. How am I going to withdraw 10,000 naira to do my business? It's not, that 10,000 naira is not enough for me to do my business. So it's better for me to be doing my withdrawing and transfer.
Me, I withdrew 10,000 from there and I went back again, I withdrew another 10,000. Each 1,000, I collect 100 naira for the charges. That's what I did. What I do now is I do withdraw and I do transfer.
Although most of the agents declined camera interview, but some who did behind the scenes said the situation has pushed them out of business as they now rely on the validity of the old 500 and 1,000 naira notes. In Abuja, Bosede Ebo, NTA News.
Thank you so much, Bose, for always following up. The United States congratulates Nigeria's National Combating Wildlife Crime Steering Committee. The U.S. also lauds Nigeria's Wildlife Law Enforcement Task Force, inaugurated as part of West Africa's strategy on combating wildlife crime. In a statement published on its website, the U.S. welcomes the steering committee and task force as tools for improving internal government coordination and efforts to combat the theft of Africa's wildlife heritage. Nigeria is the first country in West Africa to establish these initiatives. This is the network news on NTA. Time now to head to Lagos, where Adeola is standing by with some reports. Over to you, Adeola.
The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, has tasked officers and soldiers to deploy airtight security to guarantee the success of the governorship and House of Assembly elections. Lynn Leneke reports that the Chief of Army Staff gave the reminder at the inauguration of projects across military formations in Lagos.
The Nigerian Army has remained resolute in carrying out its statutory duties by confining with extant rules of engagement and standing orders in the Constitution, especially as the gubernatorial election approaches.
As we prepare for the governorship and state assembly elections holding on 18 March 2023, I charge you all to remain the same standard, to maintain the same standard to ensure the civil populace exercise their civil responsibilities.
The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, whose first port of call was the Nigerian Army School of Finance and Administration, Arakan Barracks, Apapa, inaugurated the ultra-modern administration complex and facility for officers and soldiers of the Finance Corps to effectively and efficiently manage the Army's financial records. Placing premium on the health of personnel and their families was another prioritized project of the infrastructural intervention of the Army. At the 68th Army Reference Hospital, Yaba was upgraded to meet the globally accepted standards.
The staff here have a duty to ensure the serviceability of this equipment. And the co-commander has that responsibility also to deploy competent hands to handle this new equipment that are installed.
The Army Chief also inaugurated the remodeled, refurbished and equipped Alafia Olua Primary School in Mushin. This, the Army believes, is key in achieving corporate goal of stemming the tide of insecurity. In Lagos, Lane Lenake, NTA News.
The Nigeria Police Force Zone 2 headquarters in Lagos, alongside other security agencies, have perfected strategy to ensure smooth and peaceful elections on Saturday. As part of activities to fortify troops on election duty, the Assistant Inspector General of Police, Abiodun Alabi, was in Ogun State to finalize logistics. Olumide Guntola reports.
The morale is high as these officers drawn from the various security outfits in the country are running to go and deliver a peaceful atmosphere for Saturday's governorship and House of Assembly elections. The Assistant Inspector General of Police, AIG Zone 2 Lagos, Abiodun Alabi, was in Abeokuta, Ogun State to assure voters of maximum security and enforce the law in line with global conventions. He warned all stakeholders, especially the politicians and their supporters, against any cause that might negate the game or the full of the
election is not a do or die affair. I believe it's just a contest, among the players, and they should allow peace to reign. We will support them, we will cooperate with them. But those of them who are not seeing any feelings or any plan to cause any violence, they should be ready for us that we are prepared for them too. We will not allow anybody to derail or truncate this, electoral process.
The Commissioner of Police, Ogun State, Frank Umba, presented the troops to the AIG with an assurance that his team will once again deliver as experienced during the presidential election.
Total number of personnel ready for your takeover, 233.
The command also assured members of the public that best security strategies are being deployed to ensure effective and professional policing to build a good relationship with the people. In Lagos, Olumide Guntola, NTA News.
Do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on the screen for updates. We'll take a break now, and when we return, it's back to Elizabeth in Abuja for the continuation of the network news.
You're still watching the network news on NTA. The chairperson of the African Union Commission, Musa Faki Mahamat, has expressed confidence in the leadership role of the current president of the Africa First Lady's Peace Mission and the First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Buhari, for demonstrating commitment and passion in steering the affairs of the mission. State House correspondent Aliu Kabir reports that this is coming against the backdrop of the meeting between the delegation from the African Union headquarters led by the Commissioner of Political Affairs, Peace and Security Ambassador Bankole Adeoye and the First Lady of Nigeria Aisha Buhari. The objective of the meeting is to design strategies towards consolidating on the gains of the Africa First Lady's peace mission and to chart a new course for sustainable development, as well as to maximize the support of the AU towards achieving the desired goals.
Resuscitating the peace mission is very important. We decided to resuscitate it in order to pass like the awareness of peace building from secondary school up to tertiary institutions. We need to find a way of giving us a legal backing in order to make it a platform of every African woman where her voice will be heard.
We have a number of initiatives to support your work. We want to assure you that the African Union, in its entirety, all its organs, including the Assembly, the Ministerial Council, Executive Council, and the Peace and Security Council, will be ready to support this project.
The delegation had earlier inspected the construction work at the headquarters of the mission along Airport Road, Abuja, where they expressed appreciation for the level of work done and promised to give all the necessary support and cooperation towards the actualization of their dream. A bit from the judiciary, the National Judicial Council has recommended the compulsory retirement of the Chief Judge of Taraba State High Court, Justice F.B. Andeto, with immediate effect. Justice Andeto was recommended for compulsory retirement following the findings of an investigation committee to a petition written against him by Senator Mohammed Sanusi Dagash for suppressing judgment. Justice Andeto refused to deliver verdict 30 months after adoption of final addresses by the parties in the matter before him. It is to hand over to the next most senior judge in the state. The council also empaneled 4 committees to further investigate 4 of the 7 petitions forwarded to it and dismissed 3 others. It equally recommended the appointment of 6 heads of court for Benue, Adamawa, Kwara, and Oyo states, as well as Grand Kadi Shara Court of Appeal and Preston Customary Court of Appeal for Adamawa State. The NJC also recommended appointment of 5 judicial officers for Plateau State High Courts. Now, a bit from business, Nigeria's Federal Inland Revenue Service and the United Kingdom's His Royal Majesty's Revenue and Customs have signed a memorandum with the aim of fostering improved collaboration on capacity building towards the 2 tax authorities. Mr. Mohammed Nami, who led members of the board and management of the FIRS, noted that this collaboration is in line with 2 planks of its cardinal goals for the service, building a data-centric tax authority and improving the service's collaboration and stakeholder relations. The FIRS boss, who is also the president of the Commonwealth Association of Tax Administrators, further explained that with this collaboration, officers of the service will be better equipped to improve tax revenue collection and in turn provide government with the much needed resources to cater for Nigerians. Head of capacity building are the HMRC, David Yellowy, emphasized that the MOU between the Nigerian and UK revenue authorities will see the 2 countries collaborating on capacity building, particularly on issues surrounding country-by-country reporting standards, transfer pricing, exchange of information, data, and audits in the oil and gas industry. Still on business, conversations at the ongoing World Economic Forum are tilting towards developing the right tools, policies, and plans that will lead to reigniting growth in Africa. They say tackling debt and inflation is a matter of emergency.
The most repeated word in the last few days has been supply chains.
in supply chain disruptions. The beauty of it is that a lot of those supply chains start on our continent and can finish on our continent if one decided to transform our raw materials into finished goods on the continent. It will create jobs, it will add value, it will increase our sort of involvement, and our trade, AFCFTA, will be, I think, put on autopilot. The supply chain, which today is talked to us as a constraint, can actually be fixed on the continent with climate change and looking for better sourcing.
Our debt levels are rising, and we have to live within our means. We need to be creative as how we use our government balance sheets. So one of the things that we're doing, at least what I've been doing, is actually issuing out government guarantees for certain private sector investment in order to crowd in.
Oil prices changed slightly this Friday as crude benchmarks were still headed for a second weekly fall after a banking crisis sparked a sell-off in global financial markets this week. And bench crude futures edged up 2 cents to $74.72 as barrel having snapped 3 days of losses to settle 1.4 higher on Thursday. U.S. West Texas intermediate crude was at $68.33 a barrel. Both contracts hit their lowest in more than a year this week and are set to post their biggest weekly falls since December at about 10%. Well, in other news, Parliament of the Economic Community of West African States is meeting in Freetown, Sierra Leone for sustainable regional renewable energy generation and distribution. The delocalized meeting focuses on the theme building the regional energy market for perfect energy transition. In attendance are 8 ECOWAS Parliament standing committees, namely Energy and Mining, Agriculture, Environment and Natural Resources, Infrastructure, Industry and Private Sector, Public Accounts, Microeconomic Policy and Economy, Administration, Finance and Budget, as well as that of Health. The Association of ECOWAS Female Parliamentarians is also sensitizing women and girls in Sierra Leone on women's empowerment and roles in the development of the sub-region. Time to take another break. The news continues shortly. And next on our lineup is Sports Update with Olumide Eguntola.
We begin with para-volleyball. 21 players are camped in Lagos ahead of Africa and World Championships. The focus of the technical crew was on fitness and tactical discipline.
Presently now we have 16 on ground, so out of that 16 we need only 12.
Still on volleyball, our volleyball club have emerged champions of the 13th edition of Abuja Invitational Volleyball Challenge. The team beat Games Village Volleyball Club 3-0 at 25-22, 25-16 and 25-16 in the final played at the Indoor All Package B section of the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja.
I've achieved the 90%, which was our set target.
That is the grassroots we are talking about. I want to give a pass, I would say 85% pass mark.
In the women category, Scorpion Spikers defeated Chief of Army Spikers 3-1 to emerge champions. In football, the draws for the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League indicate that Real Madrid will take on Chelsea, Benfica versus Inter Milan. It will be Manchester City against Bayern Munich, while AC Milan will lock arms with Napoli. In the English Premier League, club sides will again have another opportunity this weekend to improve on their league standings. Relegation threatened Southampton will host Tottenham Hotspur. Leeds United will play away to Wolverhampton Wanderers, while Chelsea will lock arms with Everton on Saturday. In mixed martial arts, former Ultimate Fighting Championship UFC welterweight champion Nigerian's Kamaru Usman is talking tough ahead of his rematch with the current champion Leon Edwards. Kamaru says he is psychologically prepared to win the battle at the O2 Arena London in England on Saturday. With sports update, Olumide Eguntola, NTA News.
Thank you, Olumide. President Muhammadu Buhari is saddened to see the devastation caused by mudslides from Cyclone Freddy and floods, which left more than 300 people dead in Malawi. Reacting to the record-breaking storm that came with devastating landslides in the southeastern African state of Malawi, President Buhari conveyed the nation's condolences to his counterpart, President Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera, families of victims who lost their lives, government and people of the country. President Buhari prayed for repose of the souls of the deceased, quick recovery for the injured, while hoping for early restoration of normalcy in all the areas affected. And the president formally commiserates with the Emir of Dara, Umar Farouk Umar, over the death of his oldest daughter, Haja Talatu Umar. During the visit to the Emir's palace, the president paid tributes to the deceased, describing her as an epitome of motherhood who personalized decency and compassion. He prayed Allah to grant the late princess eternal rest, and the Emir as well as the Emirate Council the fortitude and courage to bear the loss at this moment of sadness. The Emir Umar Farouk Umar thanked the president for the visit and wished him a peaceful and successful end of tenure.
Ina tabbatar ma da cewa dukkan ƙasar Daura tare take da kai inda ka nufa a nan take ko da yaushe, ko kana shugabanci ko baka shugabanci.
Prayers were said for the repose of the deceased and the well-being of the president and the nation. And that ends the network news today. Thank you so much for watching. Do remember to always take action against rape and rapists. I'm Elizabeth Omori. And here's a quick reminder that our Verdict 2023 studio will be up soonest. To stay with us.